it's basically going to ask you when you're creating a report, which one do you want? Because based on that choice, we'll be offering you different sets of variables in the report to make sure that you are able to get the right data out. And yeah, it comes down to this. Basically, you have your one questionnaire and you are still able to make an individual report that they can download at the end of the questionnaire or not, doesn't matter. And with the same responses, you are able to aggregate that data and pull a group report for a company that just says, hey, you're doing great. Or an individual versus group report where you could say, this person is feeling unhappy at the workplace, but the rest of the company seems to be feeling quite well, in an individual versus group report. And yeah, there's no extra information that you need to ask people to get that. And it comes down to getting more and more data into that one report. And we've already had this toggle to use more than just the one response, but it's basically being used to load benchmarking data. But we'll basically be doing that and taking the full set of data and filtering it to make sure you use the right set of data to get multiple variables that basically can be used for different things. So obviously you'll be only using your data. If you're on a higher plan, like a distributor plan, and you have multiple accounts underneath in your organization, each of them will only be limited to seeing their own gathered responses. So there's no risk of looking over the wall. And we already had the formula filters. So every formula you can give a filter, and for that specific formula, it's going to only take responses that match the criteria of that formula. But it's baked into the questionnaire. So it's basically the same every single time you do the report. You can't change it for a different company. You would basically have to make a copy of the entire questionnaire and split it up. So to counteract that, we've added the report filter, which is the new thing with the aggregate reports, where you basically also are able to add a filter at the time when you're downloading the report. And all of these work in tandem. So you actually have all of these filters active at the same time. So you could basically have a formula filter that says, I need this formula to only apply to people that are more junior in their role. And you can have a report filter that says it's for company A. And that way, that formula is actually going to be juniors for company A. And you could have the same thing for seniors at company A, and you could do the same thing for company B and C. And that way you could basically do, a lot of crazy things, because you will have a lot more data and a lot more insights that you are able to share in your reports. Now, I'm not going to spoil too much fun, but we're also working on very nice updates regarding the formula filters, in which you will soon be able to actually do even more with even less formulas. So we're automating and streamlining the process of how that works. But I'll leave it up to one of my colleagues to bring you the pleasure of explaining that when we get there. Now, obviously, you want to have the formulas in your questionnaire. And now we're getting a little bit more into how do you set this thing up. So people that know the tool might have seen this screen in the past. And you'll see not that much has changed. So the main part that I kind of want to focus your attention on is the two orange toggles that have been enabled, and it might be a little bit too small to read, but basically the first one is used to activate this formula for multiple responses. So then it's basically going to take the entire set of data, and it's going to allow you to add that formula filter at the bottom. So that's the thing in the gray box there. Which is what we already had, but the second one that's enabled is allowing you to set that filter that you can set when you're downloading the report, and both of them will work in tandem. So if you leave that second toggle disabled, you would still be able to use benchmark data. if you say, no, this is, for example, I want to filter this on company level, for example, when I'm downloading the report, then you just toggle it on, and this formula will also take that filter into account. It's basically as simple as that to set it up. So as for your questionnaire, not that much has to change, and you would basically have a lot more flexibility in the future. Let's maybe jump over to the report builder then, because that's basically everything you need to do in a questionnaire. I will highlight that this has been built specifically for the renewed report builder. So if you're not already using it, I strongly recommend switching over to it, because the design capabilities are way more advanced than we had with the old one. And it's also a way nicer interface and way more powerful to use. And let's just quickly see. Yeah, obviously to get those pieces of information into your report, we'll be using the variables that we all know and love. If you're not aware on how to get to those variables, if it's in the text widget, it's that little X between the curly brackets, and it opens up our brand new designed variable selector, in which you can basically, for all your formulas that we just created in the questionnaire, you can find them. They're grouped into 3 different tabs there. So if they're using a filter or they're not using a filter, you can find them in the appropriate tab, and you can basically use all of these formulas anywhere in the report. So you can use them as text in a chart, in a KPI widget, wherever you want. And it's also important to note that it automatically calculates averages and the minimum and the maximum and stuff like that, like standard deviation even. So there's no need to worry about that when you're calculating your formulas. You're just supposed to be able to calculate the total, and then the actual aggregation, like the average or the sum, or that stuff is basically done automatically for you.